Dan Illman, Matt Bernier are kicking off the 50-cent late pick 4 at Gulfstream Park on Friday with stakes action. There's $100,000 at race number 8. It's a mile and 3/16. It's the skip away for 4 and up. Bet the pick 4. Bet this nice card. Stakes action at Gulfstream on Friday. Bet it with a DRF Bets account, because when you deposit $50, you get to bet with $200. Let's meet the field for the skip away. And again, they're going a demanding mile and 3/16 distance. And while the distance is demanding for some, it's a piece of cake, Matt, for the morning line favorite, the number 7 Rocketry, who's won in both of his starts on dirt, one at 13 furlongs, one at 14 furlongs, both with triple-digit Beyer speed figures. Those races the best, I think, of anything in this field.
You almost wonder if a mile and 3/16 is going to be too sharp for him based on those 2 most recent runs. But, you know, when you just go through this field, and yes, Rocketry is coming off of a long layoff. It is a mile and 3/16 off the bench. He's running at Gulfstream on the main track for the first time. When you go through the field, it's really difficult. It's really difficult to find anyone that has remotely close, as far as speed figures are concerned, to that of Rocketry's. And I just feel like if he's 85% off the bench, I just think he's far superior to everyone else.
I agree with you. You've made the cases against Rocketry and why some handicappers might want to try to take a chance against him at a short price. The layoff, the distance might be a little bit short. And here's another one. Here's the Timeform Pace Projector, which has a blue bar indicating that Timeform US believes that this race will favor horses on or near the early lead. And way at the back over there is the number 7 Rocketry, so he might have a lot to overcome, and a mile and 3/16 again might be too short. But I just think he's the best horse. And I trust Jimmy Jerkins to get a horse ready off of the layoff, and I was visually impressed by the marathon. I mean, those were not bad horses. He sort of just cruised up there 4 wide on the final turn. He engaged with a good horse in Dabster in the stretch, and he was really never losing.
And the other thing I kind of look at, if you believe that pace projector, which I tend to believe because it doesn't look like there's much speed at all signed on in here, I feel like this could very easily be run like a turf race. And if all of a sudden it's a bit of an accordion and Rocketry is last, but he's only 4 lengths off of it, I'll take my chances rounding the far turn that he's just a superior animal.
Now, the horse that might benefit the most from that pace projector is down towards the inside, the number 1 Realm. And I have to admit, I'm a little bit scared of Realm in this spot for trainer Barclay Tagg, because I'm just drawing a line through the grade 2 Kelso. A, he was probably overmatched. B, I thought that was an inside speed favoring track. And after he just threw a fit at the start, he didn't break well. He ended up wide. It wasn't going to work out. The race featured 3 next out winners, including next out grade 1 cigar winner Pattern Recognition, who scored in the cigar with a 105 Beyer. Take those races out, Realm is left with 2 good races against, I guess, okay competition. The Alidar I thought was notable because it was one of his rare races around 2 turns. Maybe that's what Realm's been waiting for his whole life. What I didn't like about the Alidar was A, it was slow, and B, it went in blanket finishes.
Yeah, and usually, look, a blanket finish is one thing on the grass, it's another thing on the dirt. Usually that's not a sign of a good race. And like you say, I suppose it's not out of the realm of possibility, no pun intended, that he actually may have wanted 2 turns his entire career. There's a part of me that looks at it and says, if you really do like this horse, it has to be because of the pace situation of the projected one, where maybe he shakes loose early on beneath Landeros. Maybe nobody comes, and tries to push him along early, and he just has too much left in the tank for everyone down the lane. To me, I think that's the case to make for this horse, not necessarily that he is of one of the more talented ones in this field, because it's been some time, I think, since we've seen some of his better runs.
Number 2 is Sir Anthony. Took down a big scalp in Audible, who we'll be seeing in the Dubai World Cup on Saturday. Did that in the Harlan's Holiday when he saved all the ground. Audible went 5 wide, and Sir Anthony caught a wet track that day that he really likes. Now in his subsequent start, he caught a freakishly good performance from Prince Lucky in the grade 3 Howell's Hope, going a 1-turn mile. While I think he's a 2-turn horse, A, I'm not sure he's the best closer in the race, and B, I'm not completely sure about a mile and 3/16.
Agreed. Don't know that I like more distance for him. Don't know that I like this class level for him. I know he did win that run 2 starts back, but I mean, look, that we've gone over it, well documented, the situation there with Audible and just how poor that effort was from him. The Hal's Hope, you're right. I'm not going to hold that race against him. I at least like that it feels like the numbers are checking out for him, that maybe he is kind of a low 90 Beyer horse. Unfortunately for him, I think it's going to take more than a low 90 to win.
Barn has done well with older horses going a second off the layoff, as we see from this formulator fact for Sir Anthony. Past 4 years, horses aged 4 and up on dirt going second off a layoff of 45 days or greater. 27% 100% winners, 352 ROI. Boy, it's been a wild ride for the 3 Zulu, hasn't it been, Matt? Didn't he sell for something like $1 million as a yearling or a 2-year-old in training? And then he ran second in the Fountain of Youth, and he was actually favored in the Bluegrass. And then the next thing you know, he's being claimed for $20,000 by Jorge Navarro. And while he won a stakes race last time out, it was really a starter stakes race and a weak one at that. I'm not sure more distance is better for Zulu, but dismiss Navarro at your own peril.
Yeah, I mean, that's really kind of what it boils down to here. I mean, going against Jorge Navarro is usually not a smart thing down in South Florida, but at the same time, I look at him and say, you know, the worst thing that ever happened to Zulu was him running as well as he did in that Fountain of Youth early on, because all of a sudden the expectation was there for him to be a legitimate kind of graded stakes type. And he is what he is. He's a nice little runner. There's nothing wrong with him. But I just think the reason that myself, I don't want to speak for you, but the reason that I always look back and I go, Zulu, is because he was supposed to be more than he's turned out to be. Doesn't mean that he's not a nice horse. I still think he's in too tough, but he didn't live up to expectations.
After looking at the pace projector for this race and seeing that this horse is a stretch out that has competed in sprints and has been relatively close in sprints in the past, would you, if you were a Rad, say, listen, I'm faster than Realm, I'm going to go make the lead, I'm going to back down the fractions, and I'm hoping Rocketry's 85% at a distance that's not to his liking?
Well, I think the dangerous thing for Zulu is if you want to go that route, which I don't think is a crazy idea, I don't know, I'm not totally convinced that the distance is going to work for him either for the reasons you laid out. He had been in those shorter races. To be honest, I would let Realm go and I would park right off of his flank because I'm not completely convinced about the distance with Realm, but to be honest, I'm not completely convinced about the distance with Zulu. At least if you go that route and you sit off Realm, you could inherit this thing and perhaps it does end up working out. You're going to get the jump on a horse like Rocketry no matter what.
Todd Pletcher has $2.8 million worth of horse flesh in the 4 and the 5, Biblical and Marconi. Let's start with Biblical, who distance isn't going to be a problem for this horse. He won at 9 furlongs as a 2-year-old. He ran in the Remsen. He just had a very abbreviated campaign last year at 3. Just probably couldn't get sound. It was nice to see him win last time out. I didn't think there was a lot of pace for him in that race. He was able to grind down those horses in the manner of a colt that wants more ground. Maybe he's finally going to live up to his potential, but he's also going to have to run much faster.
That, you know, I'm going to basically say the same thing for Biblical and Marconi. You know, there's a lot of money involved in each of these two horses, and so far I think they've just both been duds. I think they kind of are what they are. They're plotters. They're kind of chuggers. They're just going to go along. I don't think either of them are particularly spectacular, but if you think, again, the distance standpoint, you have a little bit of recency on Rocketry. Maybe you have a little bit more versatility, but I don't really believe that. Maybe all those things, it'll just be the perfect storm and he'll be able to get the job done, whether it's Biblical or Marconi. To be honest, I don't like either of them.
And Marconi's the $2 million half to Mucho Macho Man. Third in the Withers is a 3-year-old, another one that did not run much during his sophomore campaign. He came back off of a very long layoff last time out, and I think A, the layoff worked against him, and B, the 1-turn mile just too sharp for this horse. You could see Javier scrubbing on him, entering the far turn, trying to get him into the race. To his credit, he got close, and then they just spurted away from him again. I think all in all, it was a good return to the races, but it's now 4 consecutive 83 Beyer speed figures for this horse. When is he going to run a fast one?
And I can understand anyone that looks at it and says, sure, here in the 83, but that was just a starting off point, a means to an end. I'm kind of going back to what you just said. You've run 4 in a row, the exact same race. How am I supposed to sit here and project realistically that you're going to jump forward? Not just jump forward, but jump forward enough that you're going to be a legitimate contender with Rocketry. I just don't see it.
The Scotsman, the number 6, beaten favorite in his last 2 races, but beaten by a decent sort last time out. Bourbon Resolution came back to run 3rd in the Challenger at Tampa Bay Downs with an 86 Beyer speed figure. My issues here are this horse is only 1 for 11 lifetime. He just doesn't have a winning profile, and this distance is also a bit of a great unknown.
Yeah, it certainly is, but you know what? I have to be honest. This horse, I don't think he's totally outmatched in a race like this, just from a numbers standpoint. He may not have the will to win. Maybe he doesn't like to get his picture taken often, but I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility that he can hit the board here.
Let's take a look at our top pick for the Skip Away Stakes, kicking off the 50-cent late pick 4. Both with Rocketry. Gotta be honest with you. A little bit terrified about picking Rocketry. Just think he's the best horse. Just think he's the most likely winner if he runs back to his dirt races. But we did mention reasons why you might want to use a couple others in the pick.
Yeah, I mean, look, I don't think he's a slam dunk in here. I think he is far and away the most talented runner. And the reason I say I don't know that he's a slam dunk, it has nothing to do with talent. I think it has to do with perhaps situation, circumstances. Is it off the layoff? Is it the pace situation? But let's also be honest with rocketry. This could kind of be an important race here because this older division is a disaster. There's nobody out there. If all of a sudden he comes off the layoff and he runs well enough here in his first start, even with maybe a lack of pace or whatever the situation is, if he comes back and earns a triple-digit buy or something close to it, why can't he be a legitimate threat in any of those big races going forward?
Give me numbers as we kick off the 50-cent pick 4.
Yeah, he'd be a single A for me in here, but if you're looking for underneath, I'd go 7, 3, 4, 5.
I'm going 7, 2, 3, 4 in the $100,000 skip away. What a great horse he was, kicking off the 50-cent pick 4 at Gulfstream Park on Friday. Make sure to bet it with a DRF Bets account. With DRF Bets, it's as easy as ready, set, bet. An approximate post time for the skip away, 5:06 Eastern. Good luck.